Welcome back to Interview Ninja Step 64. How our minds process experiences differently according to the different types of experience that we have. What gets noticed by the conscious mind out of those different experiences? Recording and storing details in different memory database locations. And finally, prioritizing and recalling information, and how a discussion on the information that Corbin has collected helps us understand better how he captures information and how his mind is actually working, and especially what's important to him, because that'll give us a clue as to his behavior.
Well, it depends.
What time of day was it? From when to when?
I think it's from about 8 p.m. till about 11 p.m. And
wow. So if we were to restructure this in terms of 8 a.m. getting up through to 12 p.m. going to bed.
Yeah, how about I write a little thing, because it's easy for me to order. So this was like, should I do the times, or I'll just do 1, 2, 3, 4 in terms of order. Yeah.
Now, is that order? Describe to me, what do you mean by order?
So this came first in my day. This came next in my day.
Okay.
Just so that you can see.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Okay. Okay. So first in the day I did this, then I did that, then I did the other. So
first I did my music practice. Right.
That's the way I'd like you to describe it. Well, what you did first.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, why am I asking you to do that?
So that we can analyse how I'm using my day. Well, it's so that I'm not wasting time, I guess, because if I start the day babysitting and don't do anything in my time, then it's a wasted opportunity. I don't know. Tell me.
Well, I think there's a really important principle here, which is tied in with critical thinking and the way we think about how we use our time. Our society conditions us to think about how we use our time, starting from when we wake up through to when we go to sleep. And I think pretty well anybody other than you would have structured this in that way. No, it's important for you to understand that the way you think
is not necessarily chronological.
Yes. It's not what 99.9% of the people out there do. If I'd set that task to all those other people, they would have structured it. I woke up in the morning, I did this, then I did this, then I did this. But you didn't do it like that. And I'm fascinated to know why you structured it like this. I mean, just look at it from this point of view. You go 3, 4, 1, 2, 2, 1, 3, 3, 2, 1, which is like backwards, and then is that
1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3. That's the opposite of that.
Well, I thought
and then
today.
This is tomorrow. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Or so, 4, 3. Yeah.
So you were using, in critical thinking terms, you were using a different criteria to chronological time.
So my criteria.
So what was your criteria?
My criteria was I know which days I teach on every week. So I went through and thought, apart from this day, which I forgot, what do I do on every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and occasionally Wednesday?
So was it what first came to mind?
It was just, what do I think about when I think about Monday? It's like, if you've got your work schedule, if you work in a supermarket and you're like, I work on Mondays, then you might put work, and then you put, I had breakfast before I went to work, and then you might put breakfast next. Well, I would. So I thought, what do I do every Monday? I teach every Monday. And I did that this Monday. But what did I do after I taught? I babysit. But what did I do in the morning before I went to teach? I did some music.
So what, are you listing it by task type or activity type?
No, it's kind of just
As we live each day, we have two different types of experiences. The first, type A, are recorded by our senses and go directly into our subconscious. They are stored, but deep in our subconscious. They can only be accessed through hypnosis and other specialist methods. Some people think that these type A experiences are revisited and filtered and sorted during sleep, and which is part of the purpose of sleep, as well as resting our bodies, of course. The other type B experiences are noticed and processed by our conscious mind before being passed for storing in our subconscious. The mind overall has at least 5 different kinds of database for holding things like facts, processes, symbols, relationships, etc. Just as computers have different kinds of memory, I'm interested in Corbyn's experience time memory, which is a specialist area. This subject of experience and time and memory is covered in more detail in the Get the Job You Want course, which is really all about self-awareness. It relates also to how computers and the study and development of computers has helped us become more conscious as Homo sapiens of how our memories work.
Is it like, if
Okay,
you're
so
talking about a sort algorithm,
Yeah, how am I doing it? So one is
what makes category 1, 2, 3, 4? What's your sort algorithm?
my sort
based
algorithm
on?
is based on things that I have to do.
Okay, so first comes what you have to do.
First comes what I do every Monday, and I have to do it to make money. Teach.
Right.
I think about Monday. Oh, I've got a lesson later.
So if we had looked at this and the way you've listed it, is that
Teaching should
the
really
case?
be at the top for all of them, but it's not.
So it's not what you're using.
Well, it is. Actually,
What we're trying to do is analyze this.
Yeah, I know what we're trying to do. I even forgot to put teaching down there.
What we're trying to do is the way your mind works. If we're trying to analyze critical thinking, if you were writing a computer program,
then you wouldn't be able to write a computer program to predict how I order my writing down in my day.
Well, you might be able to. If you're analysing it carefully, we've got data here to analyse it.
Well, we
can see what's called your primary sort key. When you do a sort,
I totally understand what you're trying to do. Okay. You're trying to think about how when I sit here and think, oh, what did I do on Tuesday? What do I write down first?
What's my primary sort key? My secondary. Now, can I just say for people who
each of us think about the world in our own way. My background is as an engineer, a mechanical engineer, and then a software engineer, and then a programmer and a systems analyst, and then a strategic planner. I've spent 50 years in computing and communications, mostly on the leading edge, as different technologies were invented, and I was part of helping people get benefit from those technologies. The last 15 years has been about people, and especially human learning as compared to computers, neural networks, and artificial intelligence. Information technology, as such, is the outcome of human thinking struggling to understand and build systems that replicate and enhance human experience. My guess is we are at least 100 years away from actually understanding human memory because of its almost infinite complexity. My theories are empirical. They are practical theories, i.e., what works for me and what I have found works for the many thousands of people that I've had the privilege of coaching.
May or may not be interested. When computing was evolving and people were doing file structure and the information was captured onto tape, it would be, do you sort the information by the name of the person? I mean, typically you would sort name, address, and then some other criteria like age or other stuff. And you'd have, in your file structure, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1 would be your first key that you would sort on. 2 would be second, 3 would be your first, and so on. Okay. And the information would be captured. It would go onto a magnetic tape, which would be what's called a serial search. So if you wanted to search for a name of someone, you'd typically in the UK, you'd start with A as the first letter of the alphabet.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to find someone whose name began with M or whatever, you'd go A, B, C, D, all the way through to M.
Yeah.
Or if you had a more powerful system, you'd know that M was the 13th letter of the alphabet, the name was M or after M, and so you jump. You wouldn't go through.
A, B, C, D,
You jump to M, and then you go from there. So that would be your primary sort key. And then the secondary sort key would be, okay, now I'm going to do address. Now, what happened in 1972, 73, or whatever, a company called Oracle came along. They had a thing called a relational database, whereby you had different keys. You could go in on the name or the address or the date of birth or something else. And it was a matrix. All right. And then you would search according to that matrix, and it's called a relational database. This lecture on this is really important.
I know. Okay. I have a basic understanding of this.
Okay. So then the next thing that came along was object orientated. So you would say this person has this name, this address, this age, or whatever, and you'd create an object for that person. And the database would be object orientated, and you would search according to the nature of the object. And when you found the object, you would get at that point the name, the address, how much in banking,
all the information about them.
Yeah, in banking, how much they had in the bank and how much they'd done this, and then you might have a level 3, level 4, level 5, all the transactions that they've done. So this is the way file structure in computing is organized. Now, what's fascinating is that's evolved over the last 50 years as a file structure. Okay, from serial to there's a step in between, which the brain does use. It's called, it's my pleasure to record this. It's called index sequential. Okay, so file structure, you go serial, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. In the UK, yeah. Index sequential is where you know the first letter, and in our normal alphabet, there's 26 letters. So index sequential is this. So you start the search.
Perhaps surprisingly, some people like my mini lectures on the history of computing and how it relates to the human mind, with each learning from the other. I've been involved on the leading edge of pretty well all of it for the last 50 years. Challenges like how do you design a telephone system that can enable a conversation between people anywhere in the world? Then how about people and computers accessing and sending information? Then computer to computer with no people involved, and information transfer with huge amounts of data at very high speed and often with very high security. Then searching for information in the human mind or on a computer database. For me, it's all an ongoing journey, and it's been a parallel mega experience of discovery. And I want to share as much of that with anybody that's interested. In step 65, we're going to drill down much more using critical analytical thinking into how Corbin is structuring the information he's writing down. And that's going to lead us towards understanding much more about his purpose.